What's going on, guys? Joe at Outdoorsmans here today. I've got the Morning Joe going, so I've got my coffee. I've got the modular spotting scope system from Swarovski today. It occurred to me that we never really did an overview of this entire system. And we're still not doing that today because we didn't have a 95. So the system is comprised of 3 eyepieces and 4 objective lenses that you can mix and match with each other. That's the whole draw to the system. If you see here, I've got this little button here. And it's just as simple as changing a lens on a camera. You push the button. Am I in it? Push the button, twist, and they come apart, and then you can mix and match however you want. I really like this system because of its versatility. It is the toppest of the line from Swarovski, which means it's the toppest of the line in the industry right now, in the market right now. The glass is superb across the board when it comes to the objectives and eyepieces. So you will pay a premium for that. That said, what you're getting out of the system actually makes it a really good value. Like I said, a lot of that's due to the versatility. So 3 eyepieces, 4 objective lenses. You've got the BTX, which is the biocular double eye spotting scope eyepiece. You've got the ATX, which is angled, and then you've got the STX, which is straight. And I borrowed this one from Bryce, one of our sales guys there, and I don't know why he put the whole stay on case on there, but don't judge me. But STX for straight. So then you also have a 65, an 85, a 95, which you can imagine sitting right here, and then the Behemoth 115. Obviously, from going from 65 to 115, difference there between those objectives is how much light that you're pulling in. Clearly, the 115 with this gigantic piece of glass in the front is going to pull in a ton of light. So for me, use case on this is, darker conditions, or if I'm filming through it, because it just pulls in enough light that you can, one, just get better light in your video, more contrast. Everything's going to pop and look a little bit cleaner because it's bright. 2, you'll be able to get video earlier or later in the evening. When you're glassing, you're able to glass a little bit earlier, glass into the evening a little bit later, which is really nice. The drawback is that it's heavy. It's a massive piece of glass, and I don't know if you could tell scale when I put my hands around it, but I mean, this thing is gigantic. So, you got to wait. Compromise there. I know a lot of guys who carry this thing into the field and they don't seem to care about it because of the performance that they're getting out of it. Another good use case for it is if you're like exclusively using the BTX here. One thing about the BTX is that it splits the available light coming into the system in half, obviously, because 50% here, 50% here. Inherently, that makes things a little bit less bright when you're comparing, the BTX 85 to the ATX 85. You might find a little bit dimmer of a picture. That's natural because you got to split that light in 2. However, you don't notice it as much when you're running with the 115 because that available light is so much more. So darker conditions, BTX, BTX with Swarovski's magnifier included. To get even more magnification out of it. Contrary to popular opinion, people think that the magnification increases when you go to a larger objective lens. That's not the case. The magnification on the 115 is going to be a, It's a 25 to 70. It's a 30 to 70. I'm sorry, 30 to 70 when you have the single eyepieces on. So 30 to 70 power with the ATX, with the STX. The BTX is fixed. It does not have variable magnification. You cannot zoom with the BTX. So when you have the BTX on with the 115, you are fixed at 35 power. Now, honestly, even though we haven't put this video out on YouTube yet, I can hear some of you moaning and groaning about that. Oh, I need variable power out to 70 with 2 eyes. No, you don't. I promise you, you do not. 2 eyes at 35 power, I'm looking well past 1,400 yards because that's all my collective, our collective rangefinders can get us today. I'm looking past a mile up here at these pines on this saddle up there. And if I saw something running around up there, I'd be able to tell, at least identify the animal, and I should be able to tell whether or not it's something that I need to try to hump over there to get closer. It's pretty incredible how much more you get out of both eyes at a lower magnification than you do out of one eye at 70 power or 60 power. So don't let the fact that this is fixed deter you from using this system. I can promise you that you are going to be more comfortable. You're going to see more. You're going to stay in the glass more with a BTX than you will with an angled or straight single eye. Okay. One thing you'll notice that with these larger objectives and whatnot, actually with all the objectives I have, I put balance plates on there. And the reason for that is you could tell this BTX is back weighted, right? This whole system, the weight will change as you move from eyepiece to objective. So you want to adjust for that. And the balance plate, Outdoorsman's Arca balance plate. This is the Outdoorsman's balance plate. It's just our dovetail. This one's Arca, this one's not. Anyway, it gives you the ability to push this forward and redistribute that weight so you're not fighting gravity. Really helpful. That way when you're tilted down or you're tilted up, you can adjust so that, like, if I was sheep hunting per se and I needed to be looking up, I wouldn't necessarily have this way out to the front or way out to the back. I might push it a little bit further up so that when I'm tilted, it still wants to fall a little bit forward and I don't have to fight that drop, right? I'm looking straight across, so I want it kind of evenly balanced right in the front there. So we'll lock that in, and now I don't have to like crank on my tilt, right? I could just leave that lightly tightened. I could push this down a little bit. So now if I'm looking down the hill, if I'm looking up the hill, I have a really smooth, even system. I'm not cranked down on my tilt. I'm not tightened down too hard to where I get chop. It's just really easy to work. So BTX 85. This is my preferred setup. I find the 85 is like my opinion, it's the best all-around objective in this system. It's sure smaller diameter objective lens size than the 115 and the 95, but it's also shorter, and that really helps to mitigate some of the light that you don't bring in because of the smaller objective lens, if that makes sense. As light travels further to reach its destination, your eye, your camera sensor, whatever, it dims. So if you have a shorter objective lens, it stands to reason that although it might not be pulling in a ton of light, that distance being shorter is going to help make that light a little bit more bright, if that makes sense. So that's one of the reasons why I like the 85. I also like it because it doesn't break my back and I can carry it most places. It's a little heavier than your compact spotters, but it's also, well worth its weight, especially when paired with the BTX. The BTX and the 85, you're going to be fixed at 30 power. So a little bit less than the 95 and the 115, but still plenty of distance there to actually get to glassing. I'll look at that saddle again. And even missing that 5 power, I'd still be able to figure out if there's something over there that I want to take a look at. It's a little harder. 5 power at that distance, whatever that is, makes a difference. I know it's past a mile. You also get a little bit wider field of view with the 85, which I really like because times like now, it's 9 o'clock, it's late June. If you're doing your summer scouting and you're out and nothing's really moving around, I can take this 85 and I can start glassing down to, 800-900 yards, 600 yards in some places, and it pulls in enough light and it's comfortable enough that I can maintain, looking into the shade, looking into these closer, shadier pockets, because it's so much more comfortable, because there's a decent amount of magnification there, and it's pulling in a decent amount of light with that 85. I can glass some of that closer stuff and see into the shade a little bit better. That's helpful. It's either like take that midday nap or try to find something that you might not necessarily find. So there's been plenty of times where I've had this thing out and have spotted bedded deer, bedded elk. It's quite the tool. Like I've spotted more bedded game with a BTX than I have with 15s or with 12s. I haven't taken the 14s out like a crazy amount of time. Yeah, you could find them with those too. So yeah, let's move on to the single eyepieces. So single eyepieces are really helpful because they have, in this system, they have that variable magnification. So if you are, say, like sheep hunting, and it's really important to know if you're going to go after a legal ram or not, you're going to want to have the ability to zoom in to 60, 70 power. That's just a given. Like you're going to want that. So while I, fully admit that having the lack of variable magnification in the BTX isn't a hindrance, there are situations where you want zoom, where you want variable magnification, and I think sheep hunting is a really good application for that, because you have to count those rings or make sure it's at full curl, or just make sure it's a legal ram. So also, if you're, trying to beat your high score, right? Last year you killed a 95-inch coos buck. This year you want 96 or better. Well, in some cases the BTX might not be the preferred method for that. You might want a single eyepiece. Also, in my case, I like the single eyepiece because I like to throw my digital camera on my spotting scope if I find something cool or the lighting conditions are great. Instead of digiscoping with my phone, I like to use my mirrorless camera and get better detail, higher quality video, because that's just what I like. So my preference is the ATX. I like an angled spotting scope. This one looks a little bit different because I have it set up to be able to put my camera on there. So for me, if I need that zoom, if I want to film, I throw the ATX on there. I respect everybody's opinion who wants a straight. That's your prerogative, dude. Do your thing. Doesn't matter to me. I'll sell them to you both. So, uh, you know, I just, I always see that on forums, people like arguing angled versus straight. It's like, I don't know, look through them, see what feels better on your neck. To summarize, ATX 85 is the one you should buy. If that's what you're going to take away from this video, it's my personal preference and I'm always right. So that's what we should do. No, it's like I said, it's personal preference. My use case for the 85 is, in general, everything it can handle, close glassing, far glassing. With the single eyepieces, you're from 25 to 60 power, so plenty of adjustment in there. 30 power with the BTX on there. It's just a really good all-around spotting scope system. Works with both, like I said, both the single eyepieces and the BTX. All right, now let's switch to the STX 65. So this is the STX. God, I hate this. This is the STX 65. The 65 is great if you want a lightweight spotting scope. However, I think now you really do have to weigh, no pun intended, what you're actually doing now that Swarovski's come out with the ATC STC system, because it is the same glass as in their big boy spotting scope, but it's in that compact, smaller size. So where I would say If you want a somewhat lightweight spotting scope setup, then go with the 65 and maybe a 95 or a 115. If you want just one all around, go with the 85. If the 65 STX is still a little too heavy, which, you know, it's not the lightest 65 out there. It's one of the best 65s out there, but it's not the lightest one out there. So if that's kind of like, oh, I'm going on a backpack hunt and I don't want a 3-pound optic in my backpack, then that's where you might think about adding that ATC, STC to your system. But in general, if you want one system that you could kind of do it all with, this is where that modularity comes into play here. So I could take the 65, I can run it on the BTX. It's a little dim, but you can do it. I've done it before. It's not my favorite, but it's doable. You could run it with a single eyepiece. It can be kind of a lightweight system. The BTX does look a little bit funny on here. A little bit smaller objective lens, looks kind of funny, but it's definitely effective. Again, you're fixed at 30 power. With this, definitely a bit dimmer. Not my favorite system to run with the BTX. However, if I was doing like a, I don't know, a backpack coos hunt, maybe wasn't going too far and I wanted to have, if I really wanted to like have the BTX with me, I'd consider bringing the 65. However, I think personally I'd still go with the 85. I think maybe just adding a few more squats in my workout regimen would be ideal. This system's really cool. Like I said, it's one of the best-selling spotting scope system that we have at Outdoorsmans. They constantly move. We're in and out of stock all the time, so call our guys for availability. All of us that have run this system have a different opinion on which ones to use for what. And that's kind of the beauty of the system, is like you can make it work for whatever you're doing. I told you my use cases. That's obviously I am not like a Nate Simmons or a Chris Denham. Like I hunt with my kid most of the time. I'm not out here like doing crazy cool stuff. But I do like to maximize my time in the field. I don't get a lot of it. So when I'm out here, I like to make sure that I have good glass and I'm not, you know, using inferior equipment and, you know, struggling with that on the 3 days I have to hunt on this trip or whatever it is. So those are my use cases. Bryce might have some different. Bryce likes to carry the 115 almost everywhere. The Ryan, who used to work at our shop, if you remember him, he carries the 115 everywhere. For me, I'm not strong enough, I guess. I don't know. It's too heavy. I don't want to carry it everywhere. I like it for you know, darker conditions. But like I said, that 85 for me is really where it's at. So that's the modular spotting scope system from Swarovski. They're really cool. It's, like I said, it's the kind of go-to system out there right now because of that versatility. So if you need something for all general, you want the toppest of the line glass for a spotting scope, you know, you have options there. If you want something for early season scouting and you're going to stay by the truck or by camp or whatever, and don't care about weight, then you can run a 115. If you're super strong and squat like 700 pounds, 115 is probably not too heavy for you. So, you know, it's all personal preference. There's use cases for all of it. If you have questions, you know where to find us online all the time. I think that's someone else's commercial. You know, you could find us online, outdoorsmans.com, send us an email, or give us a call, 1-800-291-8065. Talk to Bryce, talk to Chad. They'll get you lined up and figure out what you need. Until next time, folks, cheers to my dusty coffee. I just want to go on the record and say that I did not train Bryce. If I had, he would have a different way of doing this.